are fully capable.
What's up YouTube, Crafting Cars here, happy Friday. Now in today's video, I'm going to go over my intake and fuel delivery setup for my Honda B16, and I'm going to be filming the entire assembly process, so please enjoy. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is connect my Skunk2 Alpha throttle body. I think this one is a 68mm, to my Edelbrock Victor X intake manifold here. And I've got a K-Pro, it's kind of an extra thick thermal gasket to attach the two and seal them up nice. And then I'm pretty sure I'm just using Allen hardware for this. Yeah, it's gonna be this set.
This is something only you can decide.
I'll look around.
Now I made sure when I bought these two that the port sizes were exactly the same, so then when you're full throttle there's no interruptions to airflow. Sometimes if like the gasket's a different diameter or the intake manifold's a different diameter, then there's going to be like a step in there, and then your airflow is not nearly as good. Alright, so now that that's together, I can take my Skunk2, this is the Primary Racing fuel rail, and then this works for the B and D series intake manifolds, as long as you have this adapter here. So I'm going to be orienting this in such a way where I can mount up my RC 750cc fuel injectors. Alrighty, so before I put those injectors in, I wanted to figure out this bracket here. Finally figured out how it mounted up, and I could just take these little Allen screws here and start threading them in. And then these holes that you see right here are going to be the ones that are responsible for mounting the rail to the manifold. Alright, so now I'm going to go ahead and install these injectors. I'm going to stick them into the fuel rail side first. They all have these little protective caps. I'm going to take the cap off, take a little Vaseline, put it on that O-ring, and then shove it into the fuel rail. Alright, so now we got all four of our injectors pushed into the fuel rail and seated properly. So the next step is to take these rubber grommets here and stick them in these recessed holes on the intake manifold. They just pop right in. So that's all of them. Alright, now this next part is where it gets a little bit tricky, and this process will vary depending on what brands you're running. But with the Skunk2 fuel rail, RC injectors, and an Edelbrock intake manifold, you'll notice that when you place your injectors, and they are supposed to be sitting sort of on top of the grommet, you'll notice that you got a space right here. And Edelbrock sends these spacers with the intake manifold, but these spacers alone aren't going to be enough. I did have to pick up some longer hardware as well as some more washers just so I can fill those gaps. Alright, so how many washers am I going to need? How am I going to space this out? I'm going to guess it's going to take one spacer and one washer, and then as I tighten it down, it should squish it enough to hold it in place. Oh, yes, that feels perfect. Okay, yep, so one spacer, one little washer, and then a longer M6x1 bolt. That did the trick. Injector feels snug, fuel rail feels snug. So I'm gonna go ahead and do the last two, and then I'm gonna go ahead and torque it down from the center out, just so all the pressure is evenly distributed on the seals. Alright, so here's how it's looking, all assembled. I like the red and black theme with the injectors and the fuel rail. It kind of matches everything else in the engine bay. So we got the aesthetics down, but it's also, these are all really good parts. Edelbrock, RC, Skunk2 are all pretty big names. And I've had really good luck, at least with the RC injectors and the Skunk2 throttle bodies. So I'm gonna go test this on the motor and we're gonna see how it looks. Alright, so there you have it. We got our intake and fuel system all set up for that B16. Wasn't so hard to assemble it once I got that spacing issue figured out for the fuel rail. And I'm sure other people ran into that same issue online if you do some research. So hopefully that brings you to these videos and it helps you out. Or you're maybe just here because you like watching crafting cars. So we'll see you next Tuesday. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.